You feeling the excitement, the anticipation, the hope that this first date could be the one. But amidst all the butterflies and nervous laughter, there are often subtle signs. Little warning bells going off in the back of your mind that something might not be quite right. Today, we are diving into some of the most important red flags you should never ignore on a first date. Whether you are someone who is new to the dating scene or a seasoned veteran, this list might just save you from a lot of trouble down the road. Stick around because the last red flag on this list is something you may never see coming, and it could be the most important one of all. I promise, this one alone could change the way you approach dating entirely, so stay tuned. Let us get started with something that is all the common, inconsistent behavior. You know that feeling when someone says one thing but their actions tell a different story. Maybe they tell you they are a good listener, but every time you talk, they seem distracted or disinterested. Or they claim to be easygoing, but the way they treat the waiter or bartender tells a completely different tale. Pay attention to these contradictions. They can reveal a lot about a person's character. Often, people will show their true colors in small, seemingly insignificant moments, especially when they are not aware you are watching. This is your first clue into who they really are behind the mask they may be putting on for you. First dates are supposed to be fun, but they are also when people tend to put their best foot forward. If their best self is already inconsistent, imagine what things will look like when the honeymoon phase is over. And while we are on the subject of masks, let us talk about oversharing. If your date is giving you their life story in the first 15 minutes, it might be a sign of emotional instability. Sure, it is great to have deep conversations, but there is a balance. If they are unloading all their trauma, past relationships, or personal baggage onto you right away, that is a red flag. Healthy relationships take time to build, and if someone is trying to rush the process or dump all of their issues on you right off the bat, it could be a sign that they are not looking for a healthy connection. Instead, they might be seeking validation or emotional support in a way that is more about their needs than yours. A first date should be about getting to know each other, not playing therapist. Trust builds over time, not in a single conversation. By the way, if you are finding these tips helpful so far, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more relationship advice that will keep you one step ahead in the dating game. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on what is coming next. And don't forget to like this video if you are already spotting some red flags in your own dating experiences. Now, here is a red flag that many people tend to overlook: constant negativity. Sure, we all have bad days, and sometimes life just feels hard. But if your date spends the whole time complaining about their ex, their job, or just life in general, take note. This negative mindset could be a sign of deeper dissatisfaction or bitterness. It is draining to be around someone who always sees the glass half empty, and over time, the negativity can start to seep into your own life. Remember, you want to surround yourself with people who uplift you, not those who drag you down. A relationship should be a source of joy and support, not constant negativity and frustration. Keep an eye out for how they talk about others, too, because how they speak about their past relationships can reveal how they might treat you in the future. Another major warning sign: lack of curiosity about you. On a first date, it is natural to be a little nervous and maybe even talk about yourself a bit too much. But if your date is doing all the talking and showing little interest in learning about you, what your passions are, what makes you take that as a huge red flag? Relationships are about reciprocity. If someone is only interested in talking about themselves or their interests without taking the time to understand yours, that is a clear indication that the relationship is going to be one-sided. People who are self-absorbed often lack the empathy needed for a deep, meaningful connection. If they are not asking questions about your life, your thoughts, or your feelings, you should wonder whether they are looking for a partner or just an audience. Have you ever had a first date where the person seemed to have rigid expectations? Maybe they start talking about your future together before you have even finished your drink. They have already planned out your second date, your relationship, and even hinted at marriage, kids, or a shared future. While it can be flattering to feel like someone is interested in a serious relationship, this kind of intense focus can feel like pressure, especially if you are just getting to know them. Healthy relationships progress at a natural pace. When someone is trying to rush things or push their expectations onto you, it is often because they are more focused on the idea of a relationship than on you as a person. Do not let yourself be pressured into anything before you are ready. People who rush things often have their own agendas and might not be genuinely interested in building a real, lasting connection with you as an individual. If any of these points are hitting home, leave a comment below and let us know which red flags you have noticed on your first dates. It is always helpful to hear other people's stories, so feel free to share your experiences. Here is one that might surprise you: talking too much about material things. If your date seems more interested in telling you about their expensive car, their luxury apartment, or how much money they make, that is a red flag. They might be trying to impress you, but often, this kind of behavior suggests insecurity. Instead of focusing on what truly matters in a relationship like values, shared interests, or emotional connection, they are placing too much importance on material things. Be careful around people who are more invested in what they have than who they are. You do not want to end up with someone who thinks that money or possessions can substitute for a meaningful relationship. A strong partnership is built on shared values and emotional support, not on flashy displays of wealth or status. We are nearing the end, but stick around, because the final red flag is one that could be easily overlooked and might have the biggest impact on your future relationships. This one could save you from heartache, so do not miss it. Next, let us talk about disrespectful behavior. This one might seem obvious, but it is important to mention because sometimes, when you are caught up in the excitement of a first date, you might brush off certain behaviors. Maybe they interrupt you constantly, make rude jokes at your expense, or even belittle the waiter. Pay attention to these subtle signs. How someone treats others, especially those they perceive as beneath them, says a lot about their character. If someone is rude or disrespectful on the first date, it is unlikely that they will suddenly become a more compassionate or considerate person later on. Do not excuse bad behavior because of their nerves or any other reason. Respect is foundational in any relationship, and it needs to be present from the very beginning. Now, here is the final and perhaps the most dangerous red flag of all: control issues. It might start off as something small, like them trying to pick the restaurant, the time, or what you order. But control in a relationship is not always about the big, obvious things. It often starts subtly. Maybe they seem overly concerned with what you are wearing or who you are texting during the date. Pay attention to these small attempts at control, because they can escalate over time. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not on one person trying to control or manipulate the other. If you notice these early signs of control, do not ignore them. They could be indicative of much larger issues down the road. Someone who is trying to control you early on is not likely to stop as the relationship progresses. Instead, that control will only become more intense and harder to escape. These are just a few of the red flags to keep an eye out for on your first date. Remember, dating is about discovering who people truly are and whether they are compatible with you. Do not be afraid to walk away if something does not feel right. It is better to cut things off early than to find yourself trapped in a toxic relationship later on. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on future tips and advice. And leave a comment down below with your own dating red flags. Let's help each other navigate the tricky world of first dates. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.